It's strange what turning the video off can do to people, just silence all of a sudden, isn't it? Right, good evening everybody. Welcome to my Shark Talk for Endeavour Society. Are we okay so far? Are we okay? Someone very sarcastically went. Are we actually okay? Yeah. Hungover? No, not many. Okay, tired? Lectures all day? Bit crap in it. Right, so first to start things off, my name is Donovan and I'm an ex-student here at Bangor University. I studied marine vertebrate zoology and I finished in 2016, so last year, thank God for that. And since then I've been working full-time at Blue Planet Aquarium in Ellesmere Port as a guest experience presenter and shark diver. So we get in and help out, so we go in and help with children with birthday parties, with presentations, talks, animal feeding, animal handling. And then when I'm not doing dry side and dealing with children and complaints all day, I'm in the tank diving with the sharks. And the sharks in our tank really don't care. They're like a guy that walks into a nightclub with a gold clock around their neck. They literally come about 2 or 3 inches from your face with 250 teeth in the mouth and go, "You're right, son, how you doing?" And they carry on going. So they're quite cheeky. Now, what I'm going to be doing today is I'm just going to be running through essentially everything. So I'm going to be going from what is a shark, basic perception of sharks, biology of sharks, lineage of sharks. Then I'm going to talk about their conservation problems that they're facing right now out there in the big wide world, and also a recent trip that I made out to South Africa to work with the White Shark Diving Company alongside great white sharks. And I'll also be giving you a bit of an insight to some of the problems we faced while I was out there in South Africa as well. So, what we're going to do to start with is... So I've already told you guys, unfortunately, thankfully. So there we are. Get through that. Sorry, I should have really told you about myself on this slide, shouldn't I? So yeah, Donovan Lewis, Bangor University, guest experience, presenter, shark diver, and favourite sharks are the big 5. That's something I didn't tell you. So great white, tiger, bull shark, hammerhead, and whale sharks. They're all my favourite shark species. And there's a few pictures of mine as well. Right, what is a shark? Does anyone want to just shout out a word that they would use, first thing that comes to their head to describe a shark? Nobody? Okay, that's fine.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. There we go, fantastic to start it off with. Anyone else? Oh, come on, guys. This isn't a lecture, just a talk. Come on, to open a talk. Come on. Pardon?
Jaws.
Jaws, fantastic. Anyone else?
Predator.
Predator. There we are, brilliant. Come on, have one more. One more from somebody.
Teeth.
Teeth. There we go, fantastic. Right. I asked a few people at work, what do you think of sharks? And they went, monster. They thought fear. They thought demon. They thought death, of course. They thought Jaws. Now, when I think of sharks, and when we think of sharks, we think more beauty. We think grace. We think perfection, ancient. That's what we kind of think of a shark. Okay? And they're the first words that pop to my mind. There's never a thought of a demonic creature that comes to mind when I think of a shark. Oh, and diversity. There we go, there's one other thing as well. There are over 1,000 species of monoelastic rank, including rays, sharks, chimeras. Just to give you an idea of that, so for a large vertebrate animal, at the top of the food chain as well, having over 1,000 species is actually pretty good going. Whereas if you look at big cats or crocodilians, there aren't actually that many species for them being a top predator. I know that there are going to be a few big cat lovers in the audience today who are going to probably hit me after the talk as well, so I'm sorry about that. So, when people think of sharks, they think of this. This was a photo I took in Mossel Bay in Africa. And the reason why this photo looks so fearsome is because it's trying to catch the tuna head, which is on a piece of rope down at the bottom of the photo. And this is, of course, what sharks look like when they go for their prey. Now, 99.9% of the time, great whites don't look like that. They look like they're swimming around the boat, mouths closed, looking like a normal shark would. And I've only got 2, maybe 3 photos like that out of maybe 30, 40, maybe 60 that I actually took. And that's because, I'll explain why I did actually see that many white sharks later on. But out of the white sharks I did see, didn't really get that many photos, but only got 1 or 2 like that. I think they're quite cute, to be perfectly honest. So when people think of sharks, they think of a great white with its mouth open. I could think of them like that. That is a puff adder, no, not a puff adder, sorry, I'm lying. That is a dark, shy shark, and if you want to know something really cute about them, when they get scared, these guys curl themselves into a donut and cover their eyes with their tail so that they can't see you. Yeah, hence the name Shy Shark. It's a bit of a rubbish defence mechanism. As soon as you drop them, they just kind of go and just fall down. The researchers still have no idea why they do it. They just kind of go, for camouflage. And you go, well, if they're floating down in mid-water, not really the best thing to have. I think they can be a bit anxious, like, I want to eat you, if that's okay. This is a picture of a blue shark that I took here from Simonstown in South Africa. And yes, it does look closer than it actually was as well. It is closer, as close as it looks. When you look through the lens of your camera, they look about that far away. You take your camera down, they're literally this close to your face. You go, and they're a bit stupid as well. Do you all want to hear a funny story about a wobbegong? Yeah, okay. A few years back, this was about 2 years before I started Blue Planet, when I was 14, and there was an old diver who was diving in the tank one day, and they found our wobbegong shark, who's no longer at Blue Planet, he's gone to somewhere else now. And our wobbegong was about 7 foot. He was a tasseled wobbegong, and his name was Wobby. And I say that in an Australian accent because the guy that told me the story was Australian. And what happened was they went diving in the tank, they found Wobby with a 4-foot jackfish hanging out of his gob. And they went, oh, okay, he swallowed one of our fish, that's fine. So they tried to grab it out of his mouth because he was going, because he couldn't swallow it. To give you an idea of how big this fish was, the head of it was in his intestine and the tail of it was hanging out of his mouth. And the divers went, well, we can't get the shark out of his mouth, the fish out of his mouth. What are we going to do? Oh, let's just remove him from the tank. So they carried him out of the tank, they put him in quarantine in the big moon pool, or the training pool, as Kieran would know, and Richard would know it as well. And the divers then proceeded to try and remove the fish from his gob. Now, unfortunately, as they started to remove the fish, an access allowance tour walked in with loads of children and parents coming to see all of the animals that are not on display. So you've got one diver giving the wobbegong a headlock around his stomach and one of them keeping this giant fish out of his mouth. Unfortunately, as the access allowance tour walked in, the fish went quarantine. Stomach acid went all over the diver and all over the customers that stood behind him. And at the same time, Wobby let out the biggest fart. Let's just say this, the zoologist did not go in quarantine for about 4 days. Okay, that was it. Wobby then went back to the bottom of the tank and just went, thanks for that, and then went to sleep, and that was it. And he apparently went to an aquarium to join in a mating program, so he's a very happy boy, let's put it that way. Right, what is a shark? If you're all marine biology students or zoology students, you'll know exactly what they are, but a lot of people don't know what they are. And you'll be surprised how many times I get asked, excuse me, are sharks mammals? Or are sharks reptiles? Are sharks dinosaurs? And in theory they are, but you know, we get asked a lot of questions like that. A shark is a fish, but it's not related to tuna or clownfish or grouper or wahoo or anything like that. Because fish like these are made from bone. So if you feel your fingers or your skull or your rib cage, it's made from solid bone. Whereas sharks are made from something completely different. And also chimeras as well. They're made from cartilage. So if you all feel your ears or the end of your nose, that there is what shark and red skeleton is made of. So they're a little bit more flexible, which means that a shark can turn on a dime. Some sharks can even bite their own tail as well, which is quite an interesting thing to see. But yeah, it's what you're made of that counts as 2 separate groups of fishes. There you go, there's a ratfish, a chimera, just to show you what a chimera actually looks like. I always describe them as having the face of a rabbit, the body of a fish, and the tail of a rat. And people always look at me like I'm mental when I have to describe that to the general public, because they have no idea what it looks like. If you want to see one in an aquarium, the Deep in Hull have one. And I was like a 5-year-old child when I saw it. I went, my first ever chimera. So I was quite pleased with that. Family issues. So I'm just going to try and get through this bit, not too fast, but just because there are a little bit more interesting and exciting things to talk about a little bit later on in the talk. So sharks have diversified quite a lot. There are 13 orders of sharks, modern orders of sharks, some of which have been around for millions and millions of years, and most shark species have gone virtually unchanged throughout that time, which is really quite fascinating. It just goes to show that these guys are actually the perfect predator millions and millions of years ago, so why change now? And there are over 1,000 species of modern elasbranch, as I mentioned a little bit earlier as well. So, just going to move on to the next slide. I'm not moving too fast, am I? Okay, silence, that means that's okay then. So, when people think of sharks, they think of the great white, they think of the tiger shark, real cutie they are. We've got bull sharks, we've got whale sharks, super cuties, and then we've got great hammerheads, well not great hammerheads, that's a great hammerhead, but you have the hammerheads. Did everyone hear about the new species of hammerhead discovered a few months ago? No? A new species of bonnethead was discovered just a few months ago, which is quite interesting. And it looks exactly the same as many of the other bonnetheads. The only reason why we know it's a different species is through its DNA. Quite cool. Now, unfortunately, there aren't just the big 5. There are many, many, many other species of sharks, such as the cookie cutter and the saw shark. We have zebra sharks and lesser spotted cat sharks. If you were doing any small marine biology, you would have dissected quite a few of those. We have the pocket shark, which is one of my favourite weirdest sharks in the world because they have pockets. It's really quite cool. That's where you get your mermaid's purses from as well, in their pockets. And then you also have your silky sharks as well, which is, according to something I read not long ago, the most numerous open water species of shark that you can find around our planet today. You also have your broad-nosed 7-gill and your blunt-nosed 6-gill. When I had my girlfriend looking at the presentation before, she looked at both these pictures and went, "What are those?" She had no idea what they were. And then we also have your puff-adder shy shark. Remember when they cover their eyes with their tail? There's a picture of one doing it right there. And then you also have your oceanic white tip just down there next to the silky shark. Then you have the wobbegong and your goblin shark, your epaulet shark, your sun tiger, and of course your angel shark. If people didn't know this, angel sharks around the UK are critically endangered, but they are now making a return to the North Wales. Quite a cool fact for you, as well as in North Wales. Some of your boys, just to quickly talk through these. Who here's heard of Megalodon, or Helicoprion, or Hybris, or Stephacanthus, any of those? Stick your hands up right in the air. That's been a good show. Fantastic. If you've heard of any ancient species of shark, it's going to be Megalodon. Okay, just because they are everyone's favourite. Helicoprion is personally one of my favourites because I just think they look wicked. They look like something that you'd find in your worst nightmares. They have basically a corkscrew teeth or a buzzsaw. Scientists still have no idea where it's positioned on the animal. They still have no idea what it's used for. Now, when I was a child, I was told it's because they used to eat ammonites, which, if you don't know what an ammonite is, it looks like a nautilus or a swirly shell with a squid that comes out the end. But because every single fossil of Helicoprion, the teeth are pristine, they're not cracked, they're not chipped in any way, they believe that the teeth are used to kill soft prey, so stuff like fish, squid, octopus, stuff like that. Then you have Hybris. Hybris is probably the species of our group of sharks that really revolutionised the design that we see today. They're the first shark species to revolutionise the hyostyle jaw, the jaw action where the jaw comes out of their head, grabs their food and pulls it in. They're the first group of sharks to use that. And they're sort of the classic shark shape that you see today as well. Even some species like horn sharks, Port Jacksons, they even still have the double dorsal spine, which is on the top of the animal as well. Now, as a little treat for you, I've got some things to hand out, so you are going to be able to handle things, have a good look at things today. So I'm going to hand out some stuff from Megalodon. I have a 5 million year old great white shark tooth, I have a modern great white shark tooth, and I have a Megalodon tooth as well, which I'm going to hand around so you guys can have a little look at, take pictures of. Pass around all three at the same time, just so that you can compare all of them. So bear in mind, the black great white tooth is 5 million years old, the white one is modern, and the big Megalodon tooth is from a Megalodon, of course, and you can just see the similarities between them. Now, Megalodon died out around 2 million years ago. It reached about 20 metres long, so it's quite a big shark, and it weighed in excess of about 70 tonnes. It's quite a big animal. And it used to eat whales, and only whales. It was a marine mammal eater just like great white. When it was a baby, which, if you compare in size, this is a modern day great white shark, the true size of it. When Megalodon were born, they were already the size of an adult great white shark. Just to give you an idea of just how big they actually were. When baby Megalodons were born, they went straight into the shallow water, and it's been theorised that they ate an animal called Odobonoceratops. If you don't know what one is, watch Nigel Marvin's Sea Monsters and see what they look like. It means the whale that walked on its teeth. So Odobonoceratops had a short tusk on its left and a tusk that was nearly the length of its body on its right, and it used them to go through the gravel and the sand on the bottom to hunt for mollusks and shellfish. And they believe that it used to hunt this because they found evidence of Megalodon injuries on fossilised Odobonoceratops. When Megalodon got bigger, it moved from Odobonoceratops onto larger whales. I only know one species of Eocene whale, and that was Leviathan. And Leviathan, the name itself, is quite scary. Imagine a sperm whale with a great white shark's head. That's essentially what it looked like. And it was the only animal that could truly compete with Megalodon. And apparently they used to eat smaller Megalodon. When Megalodon was an adult, there wasn't really that much that could affect them, because they were such a big predator. But unfortunately, the biggest downside to Megalodon is they're a warm water species and they're a cold water species, like their cousins, the great white. So when whales started to migrate from the tropics to the poles for 6 months of the year, Megalodon couldn't sustain itself on the smaller animals that were left behind, and it starved to death and eventually disappeared. There you go, there's the story of Megalodon. Okay? What are sharks man-eaters? Are they? There we go. We all know the answer, they're not man-eaters. So they've got quite a bad reputation. Just being in work around the public, the amount of times you see someone walk up to a shark tank like this, and they go, great white, that could kill you. And you just want to go, psh, Don't talk rubbish, sir. And the worst thing about it is, when it comes down to working in an aquarium, is children are very easily influenced when they go to an aquarium. I'm not saying children are stupid, okay, I'm not saying that at all. When children go to an aquarium, they are quite easily influenced by their parents. And it's quite heartbreaking when you see children walk into an aquarium with their parents, and their parents go, son, that animal will kill you. And the son goes, okay, dad, like this. And that's it, their mind is made up, sharks are killers. But rather than the dad put on this negative reputation on sharks onto their children, what should really happen is they should go, is it true that sharks will kill you? And then that's our job to go, no, and this is why. And then the dad can then give out a proper image of what sharks actually are. Now, when I first started at Blue Planet Aquarium 9 years ago, as a volunteer, if I had said to a group of people, who here is scared of sharks, probably 99% of them would have stuck their hands up. And if I had said, who wants to go dive in the shark tank, maybe 1 or 2 would stick their hands up. But over the last 9 years, that's changed quite a lot. And now if I say, who here is scared of sharks, you'll get like 1, 2, 3 out of maybe 70 or 80. And I'll say, who wants to dive with sharks? And pretty much everyone will stick their hands up. So it's quite a beautiful thing to see change over the last couple of years. And that's because the media's changed. Now it's very easy to access information. People can log on and find it very easily. And even films today are doing something a little bit different to try and change that image of sharks. I know The Shallows and 47 metres Down isn't doing that very well, but you know, there are films that are starting to change it. Now, I always say this in my shows, no one has ever been eaten recorded by a shark. No one. There's never been a recorded incident. You hear it in stories and in folklore, but it never ever happened. You'll get people that are bitten and might disappear, but they're never bitten or eaten by a shark. They're never eaten by a shark. So I just thought I'd point that out for you guys as well. So, on average, sharks kill 8 people. Bear that in mind, 8 people. So just take a look around the room right now and think about how many people are actually in this room. 8 people every year, on average, are killed by a shark. Vending machines kill 15. Now guys, I could do this all day, so just wait for the next few. Hot dog sausages in the US last year killed 70 people. The US alone, bear that in mind, that's not the whole world, that's just the US. Elephants, tigers and bears, oh my. Now people always go, oh I love elephants, I love tigers, I love bears, oh they're so cute, aren't they? Really? They killed over 100 people last year, each. So not all together, that's each. And you'll never ever have someone go, elephants are nasty animals, and you go, okay, like that. Because they're not nasty animals, they won't go out their way to kill you, but elephants such as big bull males, or if you get them with a calf, they can get quite aggressive, they can get quite territorial, and this is where people do run into problems with elephants. And also, places like India, elephants are revered as sacred, so if you go to any area in that part of the world, you'll find elephants just roaming around wild, not doing anyone any harm. And if you go to areas like that, elephants can be quite highly strung as well. I'm not going to pass myself off as an elephant expert, don't worry, this is just stuff that I've heard. So, hippos, the world's most dangerous animal. According to, what's the most dangerous animal? Humans. Well, yeah, okay, it's fine. After people, okay, hippos. And the reason why I said the world's most dangerous animal, that the animal that can kill you without venom or passing on a disease. If it wasn't for hippos, mosquitoes would be the most dangerous. And they kill over 3 million people a year, such stupid like that. But last year, they killed 2,900 people. Now, whenever I tell people hippos killed over 2,000 people last year, they always go, really? Even all these cute hippo videos I'm seeing on Facebook? Yes, even all those videos, they can kill you. Selfie, related there, reached a number of 12 people. So that's 4 more people than a shark. So whenever I tell people Snapchat kills more people every year than sharks, people always go, delete my phone. And you're actually 30 times more likely to be bitten by Luis Suarez. There's a few football players in the audience today, I think. A few football fans, should I say. So, humans kill 11,417 sharks. Does anyone want to take a little stab in the dark in how much time, in a time frame,